I don't aim for the good old days when it comes to making these videos, nor do I like to get bogged down in personal stories. It's always been about what the games mean to me after all. But there are moments that do stick with you, and one of those for me was encountering a Tiger-Heli arcade cabinet at a fairly young age. I never got to play it on that occasion, but watching the opening sequence where your chopper takes off has stuck with me for a very long time. Despite that, it's not a game I've really sat down with properly until more recent times, if only because it wasn't until seeing that notorious NES conversion which brought it back to me and made me recognise what game it actually was. But in Space Year 2025, we've got something special to celebrate its 40th anniversary, a newly developed conversion for an unlikely platform in the Atari 7800. While primarily released to support Atari's 2600 Plus and 7800 Plus consoles, it is compatible for real 7800, and honestly it feels quite special to enjoy it on that original hardware. Tiger-Heli pits you in command of an advanced stealth helicopter. Your mission: fly deep into enemy territory and take out the Mega Fortress, a stronghold holding forces secretly putting plans for World War III into action. You'll need to fight your way through countless forces as you work your way to the Mega Fortress, and though the initial challenges fairly eased over its original arcade counterpart, it isn't long before enemy fire will be coming at you thick and fast. This won't be a milk run after all. Most of Tiger-Heli's threats come in the form of ground forces, either as static emplacements or vehicles such as tanks and gunboats. You'll also encounter larger threats in the form of all-terrain attack modules, alongside aircraft performing strafing runs. Even though you're in a low-flying chopper, terrain isn't a threat here, so you're free to move about the screen as you fly, which is important because your weapons don't have a long attack range, so getting close to enemies is important. Doubly so once the intensity of those enemy attacks ramp up. Now this is a great time to just take a moment and acknowledge Towerplan's place in the Schmuck pantheon, and how their work on games like Tiger-Heli contributed to later bullet hell trends we'd get in the 1990s. And that contribution is also shaped in form of the bomb system. Your chopper starts out carrying two of them, and where most shops treat them as a mere abstract detail, a little indicator at the bottom of the screen, with Tiger-Heli, they're physically visible on your chopper, and this creates a unique defensive mechanic. You can manually deploy them by pressing the second button on the controller, though should one of them be hit by enemy fire, it'll detonate, which helps you stay in battle that bit longer. It can be tempting to use them, and sometimes you might need to in order to survive, because they're really effective at clearing out all the on-screen enemies in an area when used. Though, if you want to be chasing those top scores, you're going to want to hold on to them as long as possible, as you get 5,000 points for everyone you're carrying at the end of a stage. You can obtain extra ones by blasting the cross icons which appear on the map, specifically when they're coloured yellow. Doing so will release a B icon that will fly down the screen for you to collect. So what happens if you shoot a cross when it's cycled through one of the other colours? Well, shooting them will release a delightfully named little heli for you to collect and join the fight. Blasting a red one releases a little heli that fires off to the side, depending on which side of the heli it's sitting. Meanwhile, blasting the grey ones releases a little heli which fires forward alongside your main shots. Like with the bombs, you can earn bonus points at the end of a stage based on how many little helis you've got alongside you. As with the bombs, if a little heli gets shot, it will be destroyed, saving you but at the cost of itself, which of course becomes really handy once again when the action gets thick and fast, as it does a few stages in. Now when it comes to the challenge of mastering Tiger-Heli, whether that's here with the 7800 version we're looking at, or the original arcade game, well, it's all about learning those attack patterns. Knowing when a set of enemies is going to appear on screen, and what movements and patterns they'll take, is important for optimal positioning. Sometimes it's not about blasting every single target you see on screen, but maybe just about learning how to negotiate them so you can survive intact, especially when things start getting heavy. What's also important is understanding how enemies attack. Most of them are turreted vehicles, ground emplacements, tanks and whatnot, and they will try to line up their turrets at you before firing a shot. So some crafty piloting will let you get close in and hopefully take them out before they let off a shot. Now remember, they're trying to aim for where they think you're going to be. So staying on the move and moving about the screen, not just for dodging fire but for lining up, is very important. It's a very smart move, especially if you have to be tracked by multiple such enemies. For me, this challenge feels really unique, and it's something I really appreciate because it feels very distinctive, especially compared with other shmups released at the same time, but also even later ones. Now, obviously, hardware reasons aside, both in the arcade game and here on the 7800, you're not going to see that intensity of a 90s bullet hell game. But Tiger-Heli still manages to throw quite a lot at you, even for such hardware. And that's not really a surprise here, it's a really well-developed game on that front. I can't say I've tested this thoroughly, but part of me wonders if the time I've spent playing Tiger-Heli on the 7800 for this video will translate into being better at the arcade original. Or maybe might give me some more appreciation for other bullet hell style shooters. Something to be tried my own time for sure. As a package, Tiger-Heli for the Atari 7800 really does a magnificent job in bringing this arcade game home to play. Most of it comes down to appreciating and bringing in the little details. Tricks like hidden score bonuses and formation patterns are here, pretty much as you'd expect, even with the differences in aspect ratio between presentation. In fact, there's only really one detail I noticed that was missing, and that bothered me a bit, was that when you complete a stage, your bombs aren't fully replenished like they are on the arcade machine. It's minor, it's not that annoying in the scale of things, but it's still had a bit of a minor impact on survivability. Now, I'm not sure that's going to be noticed. I may have just been a little nitpicking when I did pick that up. There is some well-executed coding here. In my time spent with it, I've never really noticed any slowdown or sprite flicker or any of the kind of things you saw on other conversions. You know, it's something the NES conversion is notoriously demonstrates. I mean, it should be said, the Atari 7800 hardware is primed for throwing a lot of sprites around. It was designed for that kind of era of arcade gaming. And, you know, even as bullets start flying thick and fast when you're against some very intense attacks, especially like this third stage or whatever, it never slows down, it never gives up, it just feels solid. And I think that's very important for being able to enjoy a game like this. A very intense shooter, you need to be able to see everything coming at you, you need to be able to avoid it, and your controls need to be absolutely spot on. And they are. I think it's, you know, comparing it with NES Tiger-Heli, you could really see just how good it feels to play. How well the controls feel, how good the visuals are. Even with the chunkier resolution of the 7800 in its more common display mode, all of that stuff is dotted and crossed and focused on very well for prime results. And I have to admit, the feelings I have about that NES Tiger-Heli are based on playing them as an adult. I didn't touch it as a kid, unsurprisingly. But something else that really comes over well is the audio. It takes advantage of the Atari 7800's ability to feature an external sound processor in the cartridge. In this case, it's a reproduction of the Poke chip, and that handles all the music. And I think it's a great arrangement of the arcade game's music. Yes, it's that sort of era in arcade gaming where the music, you know, kind of gets repetitive, but that's not the fault of the arrangement, that's the original score. It does it really well, and it frees up the internal TIA for sound effects, and it does a good job of it. Like, all of that audio, it's balanced well, it's mixed well, it's all appropriate, it feels good, it's good to listen to, it doesn't annoy anymore that those tunes do. It works, and it's quite solid. That, of course, is really part of the vibe of bringing an arcade game home. It's not just about does it play well, but does it present well, does it sound good? And all of this, honestly, with Tiger-Heli is absolutely there. It feels very solid, and it feels like playing the arcade game should. You can see that the effort has gone into making this as great a conversion as possible. Which contrasts with, home conversions of arcade games, they're usually a bit of a mixed bag. Even today, you see some that try to be precise and accurate to the detriment of the player experience when starting out. It could turn off the audience that way. But I think that you focus on recreating your experience and making it palatable to the audience. And that's what has been done here with Tiger-Heli. It feels like the arcade game, but it ramps up the challenge a little smoother. That first stage is far less intense than the arcade game. But once you get going, the intensity ramps up, even when you're getting onto the second loop. And I think it's just so finely crafted that it really excites me. Because not only is it a great game, that one I feel deserves a little more love and appreciation in sort of that arcade sphere. And I'm glad that the toll plan stuff has been getting that a bit lately. It's definitely brought me closer to a lot of these games, some of which I've heard about, some of which I hadn't. And I think that's great news. But it's also exciting because it shows that the Atari 7800 platform is far more capable than what people give it credit for. Because it never really got pushed to the full back in the day, for obvious reasons. And I think that we're seeing this, GCC designed it around replicating those arcade experiences. And that's kind of a direction that the industry, particularly in the US, sort of veered away from after the crash. And we're seeing it really just shown well here. It's also exciting because it also shows that Atari isn't just content to reissue games from the existing back catalogues, both of games that they still own the rights to that they released back in the day, but also some of the independent homebrew games that came out before, legitimizing those and bringing those out. No, it's great because we're seeing new efforts that really let that hardware fly, really take advantage of it, and I'm all here for it. I know that at the time I'm putting this together, it's been announced that Slap Fight is in the works to being brought over, as is Flying Shark. And those are two games I've enjoyed elsewhere. I can't wait to see how the 7800 will handle them. I'm very excited for that. Even better, compared to a lot of other independent modern releases for these vintage platforms, it's actually coming out at an affordable price. Yes, you're not going to be able to buy a ROM to play on an emulator. But if you have a real 7800, or you have bought into the 2600 plus, 7800 plus platform family, I think Tiger-Heli is an essential purchase for them. It's definitely worth your time to check out. And I can't wait to see what's coming down in the pipeline. I'm very excited to see all that. And really, I don't have much else to say. Thank you very much for watching. Keep an eye out on all of this stuff and do check it out if you can.